Alright, so we are talking about list, stacks, queues, priority queues. Last time we talked about stack already. We're going to focus on list, more on list today. So how many lists are there again? How many lists? Ordered list, unordered list, and indexed list. Correct?
And linked list.
Oh, okay. So now, when you said linked list, last time we were talking about we talked about stacks, right? And how do we create a stack again? We use an array to create stack. We also use linked list to create a stack. Like it's just like the structure with linked list, but we create the operations to add and remove as stack. Right? We can either use array or linked list to do that, right? So that's why we want to look at how about ordered list and unordered list. So let's look at unordered list first. Now I want to link back to the project, so that's why we start to talk about this. Okay. 202. So let's also, since we have question about project, right? If you start to see what we have done, right? We are in the sequence of the project too. Go to final project right here, right? First, we have 4 due dates on the project, right? This is separate from your discussion that you pick, okay? So if you look at, I actually have the video to complete this whole final project. Maybe not completely, but partially show you how to get into each one. You can watch at the end if you want to go with this project, okay? Like we have 3, this is number 3, and 4, that's number 4, and alright, so just 4 of them. Now it's due every month, every 4 weeks. Okay, so we're on 3rd week, right? So you have about 1 week and a half to go.
For which project?
First one.
Was it 2 weeks?
Yeah, 1 week and a half, I think. Alright, so now, like I said, at this point you should identify what you want to do. Okay, if you don't know what to do, then just do what I have it here for you. Simple. But if you feel like you want to do something else, then you need to let me know now by sending email or talk to me. Okay, the project like proposal. Alright, so for example, I want to first create a user class for authentication, the user. That's project, part of the project, that's assignment 1, right? When this pretty much just let user create an account, like create account and log in, authenticate user to log in. That's pretty much assignment 1. Okay, this is just an image of the UML diagram. Like person class has name, date of birth, and getter and setters, and I just show when you create a person, right? I just try to explain a little bit when you use JavaFX. So in IntelliJ, you can use new project. So for the one who don't know JavaFX, you should focus on this one. So you can go to JavaFX and you can, let's say this is authentication program. I just name authentication. So this image try to explain what is this, the controller, the view, and the application when you run. There are 3 files created for you. The sample fxml is just pretty much the view, which is you can drag and drop, right? The screen that you want. Like for authentication, you need to have the text field, password field, just drag and drop password field, right? And then text field. It should be very easy, and you can put label too. Text. This is text field. And then you may need a button. Text field, you can put the prompt text, right? So username, right? Password pretty much it's gonna be like you cannot read anyway, right? If you make something like that, right? And then a button. A button can be the name, like login. So these are each properties, right, of each object on the right hand side. Like if I go to the button, this is pretty much a view that we concern. So view, like this is controller, this is the view. So they have a controller. So let's say for example I use JavaFX for the login in, like this is the username password login I just created, right? This is whole thing we call like MVC, model view controller architecture. Sometimes you may heard about MVP, model view presenter. But it's very similar, it's just a little bit different. Okay, but at this point just focus on, okay, we just create a view. So how do I create a view? I use the JavaFX, right? The fxml file that I just show you how to do that by just drag and drop that on the sample.fxml, right? You can just change the name, right? So this one I happen to name login javafx.fxml, which is fine. So that's the assignment at the point in that due in 2 weeks, right? For partial of your project, that you have to create a login page and sign up page, right? So login, after user sign up, then you can log in, right? Have to create an account first. So you can do the same, just drag and drop and create a sign up page, right? So that's view. So we're done with view, right? So now when I hit login, what does it do? It's going to talk to controller, right? That's why we have C stand for controller, V stand for view, right? So we're going to talk to controller. So controller is pretty much just has a logic to authenticate the user, like if else. If username and password is the same, then we authenticate the user to get into assignment 2 or assignment 3 actually. Assignment 3 on the final project. Okay, like to the main application pretty much. Okay, but now we were just looking at assignment 1, just create view and controller and model. Model pretty much just the user class. I have a person, user just extends person has username and password, like the get and setters. object, right? So like think about when I create a new user, I hit sign up. That button has to talk to a controller for sign up, which will instantiate an object from the model, right? A user, right, object, and pass in the information that we take from the view. And controller has the logic to create it. And then this is your assignment 1. But assignment 2 for the we talk about project, okay? Assignment 1, right? For assignment 2, we gonna talk about we learn their structure. How you gonna put the object of users? How you gonna store them? Their structure. We have to store them into the list, right? Last time we were talking about ordered list, right? So that's why beyond this point, beyond, let me go back to the image.
Wait, so Professor, is assignment 1 due September 25th?
It's right here.
Professor?
4 weeks, so
Well, like the first assignment. Is it due to 25th?
The end of the month.
Yes, the end of the month.
4 weeks. Can you count 4 weeks? Like we start from what, 21st, right? This is week 1, 27. It's due by Sunday. 3rd, 10th. Oh, actually, first week, second week, third week. So it's due 17, huh?
18th?
Right. So actually, you have 1 week left, right? This is week 4, right? Correct?
So it's due this Sunday.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure we understand that. Then let me send an announcement again, because it looks like we keep asking for the due dates in last time. So project 1, I'm going to say checkpoint 1, which is I call assignment 1 here, due by what, Sunday. So we're gonna meet on Monday, right? So I expect you to present it on Monday. Okay. So it's due by 17, and on Monday we want to talk about that. Okay.
When is the homework due?
Say it again.
When is the homework due? Chapter 20?
Every week we said it's due by,
Before class.
right, same thing, right?
Alright.
So you still have that, yeah. Okay. Checkpoint 1, okay? So this is just to make sure that you still remember we have project 1. Okay? So if you are on this track, then by the end of the class, then you should have the project to present. Now we have the due date, alright? Set up. Any question on the due dates? Alright, come back then. So, and this application can be done like very quick. Like I said, if you still don't understand how to do this, you can always review when you go to final project, right? I have the video for you right there. It's going to walk you step by step. Okay. So this pretty much just create an account, right? Now, let me show you how to use controller a little bit, right? So, and talk to the model, right? Go back to image again. We will do login, hit the submit button or login button. It's going to talk to the controller right here, right? Okay. So This guy, how do we link to the controller? Like here, right? This is going to talk to the controller. So we need the properties of the login button. Click on it. You get a property page on the right. Hit the code. On action. Okay, on action. That means when you click action, it's going to go to the method name. Authenticate. You could name anything, but this is a method name that I want to name. But when you name that, make sure I'm going to save this first. Okay, Control S as it did. Like on the text here, pretty much it's going to add. This is an XML file. It's going to add that line. Just verify that. Okay, on action. It's just, this is just make it easy for you to look at. You don't have to know XML. This is an XML file that represents the scene builder. Just verify you see it. Now, you're going to create a method in a controller name the same, which is let's do void type authenticate, because it's not returning anything. So that's pretty much how you link it to controller. So we're done, right? So from view, link to controller. When the user click, then it's going to do the logic in here. You have to pass into, that's correct. Then you have to go back, the username, you click on it, and you give the FX ID for it. It's just like you create variables, right? Variables. So you name, and FX ID is like a variable password. Okay. Now you have to make sure when you go back to this, you're going to declare it an instance variables, right? Same name. Like, but you have to do annotation. If you just declare like you name, remember you need to give the same data type. Like this is text field type, this is password type, right? Because it's an object, right? So like I said, text field. Now you have to get from JavaFX, Alt enter, you have to get the second one, import from that. But if you name like this, it could be another object. So you want to make sure you link to that view by using annotation fxml. It's just like link to that fxml file. Okay. So same thing with password, right? So you have to use the password field, right? This guy, right? And name exact the same name that you give as the fxid, right? Now we just link them. So this is just a logic which is very simple and easy, right? You could actually return true or false too if you want when you call. But think about when you hit what you want to do next. If it's fail, right? If it passed, then you could just create a label and set the label as grade or whatever, right? By linking to the variables again here. If you drag and drop the label on this screen, right? It could just have a red label say, hey, failed authentication. By this program just if, right? Like for example, let's test. I need a label. Okay, so this is like a message properties. Let's just not put anything, then user not seeing it, but we want it to be rate when it's notified the users. Seems like I have to take it from here now. Text field, color.
You should tap on the color like off there.
Oh, thank you. Let's make the text a little bit bigger. Okay. So same thing. I want to link to that, right? So label. I need to import. So if what you name, now you want to talk to the model, because the model is the one who stored the information, which is actually model represent your data structure, like a list, right? Because you store user object in the list, right? So let's see, last time did we create any data structure to use last time? We did the stack only, huh? Did we did a list yet? You see, this is linking back to your assignment 2, like your checkpoint number 2 for your project. Let's create 2 separate. I want to see what we have last time. And you should be able to import the data structure that you use into this project. Okay. We did linked list, right? To create a stack, right? That's why I just try to look at our stack. Yeah, linked list. And we test that it passed, right? I mean, if I want to start a user into the stack, then I just import the stack into this to use. Correct? Because I create application here. Now, how do I do that, right? Alright, so how do we do that? Let's see, we could create a jar, just like when we import a library, like even unit test or JDK, right? This is a jar file, right? See that? And then we can put all the classes in there. Like normally with jar, when you have more than just one, there's so many classes, right? Like we could create all that list, stack, queue, everything in there as a data structure, and then import them to use here. Then we can pick anything that we want to use in the application. So let's see, how do we create a stack here? Jar. Let's see, we have the stack done, and we test that. It seems like we passed all the tests last time. We just need to make sure how do we use that. Okay, I think they have the let me see. This is deploy. But it's gonna be faster. I just don't know the menus. Okay, I'm going to say we want to jar with IntelliJ, right? Okay, artifacts. Go to project structure and artifacts. Okay. I have to go back, click on the project and go to file, project structure, and look at the artifacts. So we want to add jar. That's how you want to do a jar. Right. For modules stack, right? And this one actually we don't have a main, right? If you run an application with a main, you can just jar that. Then when you double click on the icon, it's just run So we don't have the main. Extract to the target jar. Let me use that and see what happens. Name stack. So this is going to be the output directory. Okay. So we have to run it first. This is just a setup. No. So after we set the artifacts, let me review. So we set the artifacts, then we go to build and build artifact. Okay. So build. 1 second, while we start to get errors first. At this language level, so there's a problem with the generics. It was fine, right? I'm gonna build first, then build the artifacts. Just building. Yeah, the problem is there's an error with the generics now. It's not passing the compilations. So let's fix the error first. Generics are not supported. Let me make sure we set the project. Something that we set make it breaks, right? Compiler. I'm looking at, I want to go to see if we have the JDK 1.9 first. That's the 9 version. And this is just the artifact that we set. Platform settings. Generics are not supported at this language level. So what I'm going to do, let me remove our artifact first. I'm not sure what we did just caused that. Okay, so it wasn't. Let me restart it again. Alright, let's see what happens. We were using generic, it was fine, right? What did they do? Size E. It's all errors because of generics. metric are not supported at this language level. I think we have I checked our SDK is 9, huh? Project level 2. Okay. Something that we did when we go to project structure, maybe I accidentally changed something. Plain old Java, that's why. Oh, that's it. I'm not sure how did I change that. We accidentally changed it, huh? Alright, so let's do the artifact again to create a jar. For modules with dependencies. I don't have the main class. Let's try without that. Okay, we're gonna try with default first. Now we just said that. Now we're gonna build the artifact. So if there's an error, then it's not gonna build. Now since we fix all the errors. So after build, it should go to C user T KNC stack. Let me just go to that folder. That's the source folder. Let me verify the path again. This building right there, right? Source complete. Nope. Out artifacts. So we get a jar right there. So now we could put this jar, let me just copy that jar to use then, into my application, which is the user application authentication, right? This is just an example, right? Once you get on the list, you can just use your own data structure, right? Now I just have one to stack, right? So C user, let me just create let me make it simple first. Okay, like now our jar, if you look at all the jar here, when install is in that path, see that? You just need to tell the location of your jar, like the new one, which is our own jar, not the JDK, right? So I'm gonna put, like, most of the time, let me verify like project like I'm looking at how they structure the project, right? like this is the project that they structure. Like we have source, right? That's where your Java normally go inside the package, right? .java, right? More package. So where should jar, like, of course this is going to use another jar too. Okay. Like if they use images, they create images folder and put all the images that they use in there, right? We just try to learn how we structure the project, right? Plugins. Okay. Resources. Let me just search. They should have one folder they put jar, or the jar that they use. Right there, right? There's some, these are jars. So they have local lib. So they just create another folder called local-lib, like the library, right? I mean, that's one way. There are many ways. So, and these are the jar that they use besides using JDK, right? Just like the jar that we create. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the, let's see if we want to follow this pattern. There are many patterns, right? If we want to follow that, I'm going to switch to my authentication. I'm going to create a new folder, right? New directory name, local lib, right? And technically I just paste my jar in there, stack.jar. Okay, now this is a jar that has a stack that we've seen, right? But we have to link to the library first, otherwise it's not going to pick up. We put it there, then when we like create a project, we have it to refer to, right? When we publish them, right? Or put on Git, then we can refer to it. Otherwise we cannot refer a jar. We have to keep finding where it is. So I just try to organize the same, like local lib folder, or the jar, external jar besides JDK we put in here, right? So now how do we include it to use, right? Like for example, to use, you just say stack, right? Like now we're not creating in the controller, right? This controller is just to authenticate, right? So let me just erase this part. Like we could create a sign up, right? And sign up, it will do pretty much just need to put it in the stack. I need to use that stack, not the java.util. This is from JDK, correct? The stack that we created, our own stack, right? So, and sign up, I pretty much just going to do link to my UI later, right? So when you go to project, they should have settings. Let's see if it's under settings. We want to include jar. This is built. Or let me go back to, like I said, sometime when you Google, you get the answer quicker. Here, libraries. It's always under structure them. So you could link into your own libraries here. Java. And this is pretty much going to link to the path where you have your local lib, right? See users and local lib, and you want to link this jar, right? So you have questions?
Yeah, so if you have like more than one jar file and a folder that you have to use it, so you can you have to do it all individually, or
Yes. See, you see that now we pick it up, right? edu nvcc, right? This is our stack version after you link it. Now you can use your application that you created from other project into your project, right? So you may have several of them. When you build a big application, you can just include every jar in here. Alright, so we do like now link back to look at image again, that we don't get lost. That's why I upload this image. Remember, I do the sign up method here under controller, right? This guy is going to create an object of user and put the user into sign up, right? Alright, so what I'm going to do is, you guys know how to create person and user, right? So now the package name is also very important. Like now you have just 3 files, so that's why you just make sample as a package, right? It's the default from JavaFX, right? Like, think about if you have more than 3, like this, they have so many packages to organize the code, right? Because when you start to build an application, you're gonna have more than 3. Like now the organization is just 1 package, so it's better to start to think about how you want to structure your files or organize your files. Just like you create a folder and you push the C200 class, math class, English class, right? And assignment 1 subfolder, something like that. Otherwise, it's going to be so confusing later. Like, we want to create person and user once we sign up, right? So where should that person and user package go to? Right now, I might just make it simple and easy. Okay, create a new Java class user. So this is a class, and we're gonna put into the package. So normally it's just organization name, okay, something like that, huh? So the project name, you may say, like, what type of project we're creating here, right? The name of the project. Like, if I'm making the project like we're gonna create a map and search. So no more map. Okay. Yeah, maybe I just build something for student here to use. You can search. Maybe I want to locate a user in a student in Nova. Like, I'm looking for view where he is now. I'm looking at the app. If he shares his location, it show up on the map. In Nova. Okay. It's kind of scary thinking about that, huh? But it is possible, right? that's the package that normally go, right? So we move to that package. But at the end, I want to put in the model that I want you to look at, right? But you don't want to get frustrated with that prefix. It's just telling you the project name, from what class, from what like organization. Make sense? That's how you name your package. That's a standard way to do. Because if you just say model, if you have another project, then you get confused what model belong to which project. So that's why now you know, right? All right, so and user has, like, in my UML diagram, I actually want you to create a person first. Person should have the basic attribute of person, name, last name, and so on, right? Date of birth and so on, gender, and then when pretty much basic information that you require the user at the user sign up. What do you want to know about the user? Social security number or whatever. It depends on application now, right? It depends on where the application being used. Like for Nova student, maybe I want to know your like level, freshman, sophomore, or right? Email, phone, go there. Now, but the user itself is we want to extend from the person inheritance, right? Then I add more attribute, username, password for authentication. Right, not every person can authenticate. Once you sign up, then you can authenticate the user. So if I want to create another class, what? Person.
You have two directories, the one for the sample and one for the other one. Does it matter?
Two packages.
Do you have to have two packages, or do you
Oh, directory. Yeah. It's two packages. Right. Doesn't matter. It's just the way you organize it. When you use, you just import, right? So person. Let's for now I make it simple, like string first name, and you pretty much just going to have to add the rest. So we create the constructor and we create the set and getters, and we create the toString version, right? So you could just use this to help. I mean, if you understand this concept, since you pass 201 and 202, you should understand the class concept, right? And two strings. So we have use person done. Now users is extends person. Then you have everything from person. When you sign up, you pretty much just going to use whatever comes from the person through the constructor super, right? But you pass everything from the view, right? You understand so far, right? Now user, the key is this username password, right? So we create the username is string. I think nowadays they just use email, right, as the username. That's another option too. Then we can do the same here. You can just use the IDE to help to generate that to save you some time. I have interesting. All right, so Sorry. So we get username and password. We have set and getters. We have the constructors. We needed 2 string. So I mean, at this point, I assume you already know this concept. Is that correct? Everybody comfortable with like the concept of class and objects? Like what's setter for, what's getter for? Yes. All right. So if that's why this assignment, I just want you to review that concept. If you feel like you need to review, just go to chapter 5 and 6 from Savage author. But I just want to show you how you apply that, right? So now I'm done with the user. Once you hit sign up, you pretty much just want to create a user, correct? How do we create user? User. New user equals to new user. And then you pass in information that you read in from where? Sign up, right? Now it all depends on the constructor here that is required you to, and I need to modify a little bit because we need to get the password too, right? Equals to password and username equals to, then we create the username and password account for this user. Alright, so now we need to create here. How do we create that? We need to link to fxml again for the fxml, but it's not sample one, so let's rename. So this is going to be according to my image, then login JavaFX, right? So login JavaFX. Alright, so we get that UI. Now we need another UI, right? New. You could create a file from scratch, like a new text file, and save it as fxml. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this and just change the name here to sign up. Then I could just modify this, right? So this one, I'm going to name it first name, right? And this one, this could be when they sign up, they have to provide password too, right? But make sure it's going to be different name, otherwise it cannot distinguish between which password, forms login or form sign up, right? So let's change the name. I think it's under fxid, right? So this is, I'm going to say just sign up password and this is gonna be first name. That makes sense? And we just change this to call it sign up instead of authenticate, right? Then they're gonna link. And verify again that it's at the code sign up. There you go. Alright, so like I said, you just need to have 2 more fields, right? For last name and username, right? So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just use username for this one then. Sign up, maybe sign up your name. And I'm going to change that sign up, right? Because I'll let you do the rest of information for sign up, right? Like you're supposed to make the password like equivalent, like confirm password and password must be the same. So these are the requirements. See that? Right, the sign up information. Like password must be one uppercase, one lowercase. Email must be in this format. You have to do validators. Right, do this. Okay. And then you have the label to notify user when it's not matching, right? So this should be the word sign up now. That makes sense? I think sign up is 2 words. Okay. Then we have log in and sign up. Then we should be able to sign up user now. What we need to create, like now I don't have the constructor that takes so just 2 parameters because my application now on my UI only have 2 parameters. So I need to create an overloaded constructor that just take username and password. That means first name, last name is not required field, right? So I'm going to call the default constructor then. That's going to be insert super, and super doesn't have defaults, so I have to create a default constructor. Okay, and if the user not giving the name, we just make a John Doe, something like that. That's the default. Alright, so that part is done. Now we just need to import. Alt enter import the model. And we pass in, we have to link to the sign up, correct? And we have text field, and I call it, you see when you name it, if you name it easier, then you pretty much just remember. If you name different, then it's very hard to get it back here. I think it's password field, right? And this is going to be like I put sign up in front, then I know this is for sign up. So it should link to those. Sign up username. What time is supposed to be done? Okay. So username pretty much just getting from the sign up uname dot get text, right? Because you link to that. And then sign up password dot get text. Then we create user account. Now, how we going to create new user every time? It's going to replace it every time. It will not stored into the structure. That's why this is about this class, right? You create a structure to store your data now. Otherwise, a second user replace it, third user replace it, you're not going to be able to authenticate, right? So that makes sense now? Huh? So, and we just created a stack last time. Let's say we use stack, right? We just need to create an object of like list of users, right? Equals to new stack. But again, we already talked about stack is not the best data structure to store user list. But I don't have the order list yet. So next time we're going to create order list, and then we can start to use the order list instead, and then push user into order list. And the efficiency when you search for user authenticating is going to be faster, right? Alright, so we create the stacks. And remember, that's why we use unit tests to make sure that before you use it, you have to test it works. And we've been testing and we know it works. So, and this is a stack of user type, right? Because it's generics, right? Then we can just add the user into the stack. Now every time we create the user, I keep adding into stack, so we're not replacing user, it's keep pushing.
So you may have the same name twice, same username.
Then, because my application didn't take care of that yet, so if you want to take care of not allowing the same username, then at the point that you validate, you should do it right here, sign up, right? And you have to look through your stack. Like, remember, we have an operation say contains as return true or false. You pass user object in. If it's true, then it's contained. Then you respond to the red label back to the sign up says already exists. This username. That makes sense? But our stack here doesn't have that operation. That's why stack is not a good one. That's why we want to do the list instead. Did I answer the question? Okay. So that's why we may want to get back to this project and keep adding queues, list, and more. And packaging here should be changing to start to change to maybe stack queue. Just try reorganizing your code now. Then we have stack, and then you create another one, right? Now linked list should not be in here. Like test should not be in here. It should be just a package for test. The only thing that can be here is the I stack and LL stack. Like this one should go to stack test. Okay, and of course it's going to be missing stack now because the packet is different. See, right? Last time we have the stack itself, right? Right there, right? So stack is the array version, correct? And RL stack is the linked list version. So I put them all together. Depends on. And now iStack should go into stack 2. And node. What happened to node? Node should be being used.
It should become with this
Yeah, for now we're gonna put it in here. If we keep using it again, we can just make another package for it. Okay. Like now it's only one by itself. Now this guy need to import, right? Alright. So let's just try reorganizing the code a little bit, right? Because we're gonna create a list now. And stack test should be inside the stack test. That's the array version. Let's go in there. Yeah, once you're reorganizing, it's kind of nice start to see where should it go. This should be a package, right? This doesn't have a package, that's why when we first create. This is just reorganizing your code. Because we start to, like you see that we start to have many classes already, right? So that's why you want to organize them to make it easier to read. Now you see that I have the package NVCCC202. I have stack, which is all about stack, and I have test, which is all about test. Then we can start to create a new class with a new package, right? Which is, we talk about list. We create a list. And I want to move it into the list package. And the list is going to have like order list and order list. And the list itself should have an iList, which is an interface. We talk about interface, right? You should create an interface that provide all the operations of the list. Then order list and order list, index list is going to follow that iList. Just learn how to organize your code, right? Alright, so I don't think we're gonna have enough time to cover all the list. So I want you to go back home and read what are the operations that the list needed. I think we talked about that last time too, right? So what should the iList look like? Okay. Of course, they all should be generics, right? And then what are the methods or the abstract method that we should provide in the iList? This also should be generics. Now we're going to test this application a little bit using the stack for now, and we switch out to list once our list is implemented. So this is pretty much your part of your final project. You see that? This is your assignment 1 checkpoint, right? And we start to build assignment 2 checkpoint at the same time to do that. Okay. And when we get to assignment 3, pretty much your authentication is done already in app 1 and 2. Assignment 3 is you bring the user to use the application. Like we're gonna search for it. Like now, I think we have the hospital. Or now we want to do Nova student, we're gonna search for student. Make application to search location of student and show the map for her. So that's going to be assignment 3 checkpoints. And assignment 4 pretty much just make it more efficient to return the result on the map using graph data structure. Okay? So we learn how to do application and how to use the data structure in your application. If you just learn the data structure itself, you might not see the benefit of data structure itself. But because you just learn simple operations like push and pop, when to use push and pop, when to use stack, right? You don't see it yet. So now we create a user, we put in here. The problem is stack here, we know it's limited, right? Let me use LL stack because LL stack is unlimited. The reason why I want to use LL stack, not stack, I just explain it. Array is good. Stack use array to implement. It's good when you know the size of user. Like if I know 25 students in my class, I should go with array and call the constructor of the LL stack to like the stack to pass in 25. But now this application I open for public, I don't know how many users to create. I should use linked list because there's no limitations, because it's dynamic, right? This is append keep adding to the end.
So if we're gonna create a sign up page for our project, so when we're gonna sign up the new user, are we gonna sign the new user or the new person or both? Because we have person class.
New user. User extend from person.
Okay.
User is a person. Then you get all information set into user through the constructors. Do you understand that concept? I sign up the user. User is a person. You only do user, but user use person. Okay. Right? Remember inheritance concept that you learned in 201, right? So now, just like that, I sign up the user. But this one I technically pass in first name, last name as they didn't pass anything. Right? This called super constructor is use user here. Right? I may use person here. Which is will set the person to be John Doe. See that? Because the default constructor. So I technically use person already, correct?
So super called the default constructor.
Super, yeah, super is when you use super, it's called a parent constructor. Which is the parent constructor is person. Which is being called this guy to set John Doe. Then this user gonna be named John Doe. That makes sense? You were asking question, right? Now, every time I create a new user, it's going to keep printing the new user. And you can make a unit test to test sign up to see if it actually works. Right, so controller, create test. And I want to test, technically I'm going to test Authenticate too, right? So I'm going to test all of them. Now do you see the benefit of the test again? We can test each modules. You don't have to do the old-fashioned way you create main and so confusing where your code is gonna go. Right, and too many main, too much work, delete and create. How will you run a whole application? You cannot have so many main, only one main, one application. And you could create a package to put a test. We'll do that later. Let's just focus on test first. Then. Okay, we will reorganize this later. So, how do we test the sign up? Pretty much, I'm going to do sign up, and it should call sign up and insert, right? Where is my, right here, let's go call new user. So this is the void method. If I run this application, main is going to show login. So login should link to, I should have a link to sign up when you don't have an account yet, right? So I need to create they should have like linked, hyperlink, and make it text to create account. Alright, so when we hit create account, what we do? Go to sign up, right? Let me make a method say display sign up view. So it's called this method to display sign up view, huh? So how are we going to implement this one? So first we define, okay, it's there. Like I said, you could just go to controller and create a method manually, or you could do Alt Enter, hit on this, it's going to create for you in the controller. Okay. Now let's understand how the view works in JavaFX. How would you switch the view, right? So this is how you load the view, right? You have to link to the right XML file, right? You load that, and then you set that into the primary scene, right? Let me just change hello world to Nova student locations, locate student at Nova. Now technically we need something like this in that display sign up view, but changing this to sign up JavaFX instead. Correct? So technically we need something like this. The thing is, okay, let's just put it there first. Controller. But we want to change this to sign up JavaFX, right? Sign up, I happen to do lowercase. Thing is, okay, what's this? Oh, it's required to add the exceptions. Like this one, they have exception. No exception, right? Yeah, the exception is the parent we learned in 201, right? iOS just a sub. So now we get into how would you know what is primary stage? That's the key. This is, let me just do that. Sign up. Then we know we enter sign up page. But how do we get into the primary stage? So we need to get a primary stage in here. We don't want to create a new stage. Otherwise you create two different windows. Two different, right? If we can just switch the scene that it shows, that's what it is. Like in JavaFX, it's just a scene. Scene links to your fxml. Scene, just like when you go to the theater, they have different scenes, right? They just keep changing the scene, outdoor, indoor, right? Same thing here. We just switch the the look, because we switch the scene, but the state is still the same. State is just like your the whole window here, right? You can close, maximize, minimize, right? This is JavaFX, right? So the key is, how do we get primary stage in the controller? If we can get primary stage, then we can refer to the same stage. So if there are two ways that you can get, right? If you think about passing objects, right? You can pass through the parameters, right? From one class to another class, right? Or you can do the getters and setters. You can get the objects. If you have the setters and getters, you can get the object from different classes. I mean, I'm thinking if it's a good way or not yet. Okay, I'm thinking if I can set this primary stage, I can get the attributes for primary stage, right? Then I can create a getter. Then in controller, I could just call that and get it here. Then I have the same object back, right? Or are there any way that whenever I call this page sign up view, I can pass what's action event? Can I get the primary state from the action event? So that's why in chapter 17 in JavaFX is talk more about action event. because sometimes you might be able to get the object primary stage from here, because when you hit the button actually resides where? In the login, right? Remember that hyperlink? That login should know the location of its stage, its parent stage. If you can get into the parent of that object, then you get the primary stage back. That makes sense?
So why do we need to use the same primary stage again?
Then it just switch a scene, remember? Like when you run, you have just one scene, one window. When you click, you're still in the same windows. You don't want to create a new window. Right, you just swap scene. Alright, so let's see. Action event. JavaFX. So we want to see if JavaFX action event I want to get what? Primary stage. Get stages. How can I obtain? You see that's the question that we're looking for in a JavaFX application. You see that this is one way I mentioned to you earlier. You can do set and getters, right? From the start you do that. That's one way. You can get it for sure that way, but I try to see to make a more clean code, you may be able to use that action event. So I think the time is up. What I want you to do is, can you go back and research on that? We get to a point how we're going to get it back, right? Can you look more? I want you to read more about action event, okay? So what could action event do? Okay, that's it. Can we retrieve primary stage from it? All right, so thank you.